Hello, my name is Councillor Peter Clark and I am the Mayor of North Lincolnshire. Thank you for supporting Holocaust Memorial Day. I am being joined today by the Chair of the Youth Council, local school children and my chaplain, Reverend Knowles. The theme for Holocaust Day 2022 is One Day. Holocaust Memorial Day is one day, 27th of January, that we come together to remember, to learn about Holocaust, Nazi persecution and the genocide that followed in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur, in the hope that we may be one day in the future with no genocide. Survivors of the Holocaust and of genocide often talk about their one day when everything changed, sometimes for the worst and sometimes for better. Ibby Nil, survivor of the Holocaust, said that from one day to the next everything changed and yet nothing had changed. One day Gretel, my school friend, greeted me with an embrace. The next day she ran across the road and turned her head away so as not to acknowledge me. Franziska Schwartz-Mikos was sterilized by the Nazis because she was deaf, as part of the process of persecuting anyone who did not fit their ideal. In this case, because they believed that disabled people were imperfect and worthless, on that one day the Nazis took control of Franziska's body, of her life, choices. The Nazis wanted to prevent people they deemed unfit from being able to procreate. It was being estimated that between 1933 and 1939, 360,000 individuals were subjected to forced sterilization because they had physical or mental disabilities or were perceived to have disabilities. Those who were targeted and persecuted held out for the one day in the future when all of their suffering would be over, hoping they would all see the day of liberation. One day is just a snapshot of time and therefore not going to give a full picture. The context, the background that is needed, but it can help bring a piece of the full picture of life. The age of gender or the victim, or the geographical location ensured that no one day during the genocide was typical. The same date would be experienced very differently by Jews hiding in France, Jews incarcerated in Auschwitz, Jews awaiting their fate in Hungary, for example, for those who suffered for days, weeks, months, years, focusing on just one day. It is a starting point, a way in for us to learn more about what happened during the Holocaust and the genocide that followed in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur.
Hi, I'm Isabel and I'm the Chair of Youth Council. Cambodia. From 1975 to 1979, the Khmer Rouge led by Pol Pot imposed an extremist program to reconstruct Cambodia. Millions of people died through starvation, disease and exhaustion, and thousands were executed. Civilian death in this period from execution, disease, exhaustion and starvation has been estimated at well over 2 million people. Rwanda. In 100 days in 1994, approximately 1 million Tutsis and moderate Hutus were murdered in the genocide in Rwanda. The genocide took place following decades of tension between Hutus and Tutsi, as a recent history of persecution and discrimination against Tutsis. Tutsi men and women and children and babies were killed in their thousands in schools and churches. Frequently the killers were people they knew, neighbours, workmates, former friends and sometimes even relatives through marriage. Bosnia. In 1995, with the backdrop of the ongoing war, Bosnian Serb troops and parliamentarians descended on the town of Srebrenica and began shelling it. Around 8,000 Muslim men and boys over 12-year-old were murdered. The Bosnian War resulted in the death of 100,000 people and displacement of over 2 million men, women and children. The genocide in Srebrenica is the largest incidence of mass murder in Europe since World War II. Darfur. Before the conflict, Darfur had an ethnically mixed population of around 6 million black Africans and Arabs. In 2003, a civil war began in Darfur, a region in the west of Sudan, in northeast Africa, between the sedentary population of black African farmers and their lighter-skinned, nomadic Arab population. This civil war has led to deaths of between 200,000 and 400,000 civilians, and this figure could be much higher. Up to 2.6 million are still displaced in Darfur. They have been forced to flee their homes to makeshift refugee camps in Darfur or Chad, run by international aid agencies.
Colours by Michaela Rugby-Zangoga. Red, blue, yellow, green, white, purple, jasmine, orange, azure.
Old parlours make way for new homes, a future spread with colours.
A horizon without sorrow, here ends our pain, here begins life.
Auschwitz by Charles N. Whitaker.
The semi-Quaker tugging of the train on the track, and the people on board who will never go back, and the terror in the eyes of all the young ones to go, with no one knowing as the train comes to slow.
Those men at the station as the ramps drop down, where humanity lost is the only crippled sound. Home ground for those who stand behind the hard sharp wire, and the smoke in the towers rises just a little higher.
And the blue ink stabs a little head in the skin, above the veins of despair where murder let it in, and the terror in the eyes of all those about to leave, another train in the track, no last minute reprieve.
And the slow crochet tugging of the train on the track, and the people on board who will never go back.
They came for a communist, and I did not speak out because I am not a communist. When they came for a socialist, I did not speak out because I am not a socialist.
Then they came to trade you associates, and I did not speak out because I was not trade you as unionists. And I did not speak out because I was not a Jew.
They came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
I'm Enid Knowles, chaplain to the Mayor of North Lincolnshire for this year. One day, Holocaust Memorial Day, is commemorated by people of all faiths and none. The theme for this year takes us back to one day which changed the lives of millions of people. One specific day. However, the phrase one day can be a term which is used in a more general sense, a sense which is filled with hope, a hope that one day things will be different. One day there will be peace on earth. One day fighting will stop. One day all people will have enough to eat, clean water and safe shelter. One day, people of all faiths look forward to that time, hope for that time in the future when one day all will be well. A prayer of penitence. The Holocaust, Nazi persecution of other groups and subsequent genocides in Cambodia, Rwanda, Bosnia and Darfur has specific impacts on some faith communities, meaning Holocaust Memorial Day has a special resonance for many faiths. Holocaust Memorial Day can be marked by all faith communities. In this prayer, there'll be short pauses for reflection. And so let's pray. God spoke through the prophet Amos. Take away from me the noise of your songs. To the melody of your harps I will not listen, but let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. For sins which we ourselves have committed, and for sins of omission, for sins of our hands and sins of our hearts, for the hurt we have caused you and our neighbours through ignorance or indifference. O God of Abraham, we ask your forgiveness for failure to see your image in someone who is different. O God of Sarah, we ask your forgiveness for putting our own welfare and social comfort above the basic needs of others. O God of Jacob, we ask your forgiveness for our reluctance to get involved. O God of Rachel, we ask your forgiveness for being grateful that we are in some way superior to another. O God of Leah, we ask your forgiveness for teaching that it is better to receive than to give. O God of Sinai, we ask your forgiveness for the failure of your church to be light in the darkness.